Welcome to another bracket at NFR Podcast, and today's a very exciting one because we have 32 rap albums that came out in the 2020s decade, and these are albums that we believe to be the best of the decade, and also some that the community believes to be the best. So 32 albums, and for tiebreakers, Nick is actually going to be breaking those ties, so shout out to Nick.
Yes, sir.
Let's get started with this bracket, bro. All right, starting off with side A, first matchup is Whole Lotta Red versus Eternal Take. What are you choosing here and why?
Well, listen, these are two albums that we weren't too fond of when they both released in 2020, so it's been actually nice to see how they've aged on me. I actually quite enjoy these albums now, and going back to them, it was actually nice listens, but I'm going Whole Lotta Red, though.
Listen,
still.
I'm going to have a lot of people like pointing their swords at me after this, but I don't really care for any of these albums, bro. Like,
really? Go either way?
Either one can advance. I mean, with Whole Lotta Red, like, I get it. It was cool that, like, he merged the punk with the trap. That shit was, you know, groundbreaking. It was revolutionary. It influenced a lot of people. But with Eternal Take, he didn't really have the execution down pack. Same thing with Whole Lotta Red. Like, I don't feel like he played into that outer space vibe all that well. I'm taking maybe 15 out of 24 for Whole Lotta Red and maybe 8 out of 16 for EA. So I guess I revisit a bit more of Whole Lotta Red.
Okay, all right. Whole Lotta Red ends up passing for this one, but let's go on to two Metro albums that are getting a lot of praise right now. It's Heroes and Villains versus Savage Mode 2. Both of these are regarded as some of Metro's best projects, and I think Heroes and Villains is going to pass here for me, to be honest with you, bro. Savage
that
Mode
easily?
2, yeah, Savage Mode 2 is really nice. I have songs in there like Many Men or let's say Runnin', but bro, Heroes and Villains has been in my rotation constantly. Like,
bro, the replay value on this album.
Bro, I'm telling you, it's really good, and even with Savage Mode 2, yes, like I was junking when it came out, but not as much as Heroes and Villains.
Also, I just feel like when you look at something like Walk 'Em Down or even Umbrella, those 221 performances are better than most of the performances he has in Savage Mode 2, in my opinion.
That's a hot take.
Bro,
That's
those verses are special.
That's
and to be honest,
take.
like all of those cringy melodic cuts off of Savage Mode 2 haven't really aged all that well, and I feel like it didn't feel like a Savage Mode album. It didn't have that grit that the first one had, and Heroes and Villains, even from the sequencing, bro, it's a phenomenally produced album, and I think it's better than Savage Mode 2.
Yeah,
so
okay,
we can agree on that.
Heroes and Villains ends up passing. Let's go on to the next one. Donda versus Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. These were massive albums for their year, both lengthy.
Both double albums,
yes.
Two albums that have the purpose of like tapping into spirituality and these sort of therapeutic solutions for a listener and for the artists themselves. Both considered comeback albums, so they have a lot of common links in that sense. I think that, you know, Donda might have tracks that I revisit more compared to Mr. Morale, but Mr. Morale is the stronger record, bro. I mean, the only thing is that it's like, if I could have like sliced some tracks down off of Donda, maybe it would get the edge above, but Mr. Morale, I think, has the better rapping overall. Production goes to Donda, but yeah, I just feel like as more of a cohesive listen, Mr. Morale gets the edge.
Yeah, I feel like also the thematic basis within Mr. Morale was better executed upon. I do feel like I have Mr. Morale more in my rotation than I do Donda at the moment, and there's less filler on Mr. Morale, to be quite honest with you. So Mr. Morale is going to be advancing for today. So far, so good. Clear waters. We don't have any disagreements.
I know, bro. We're going to get there soon enough.
Let's see if we have the first one for today with the Melodic Blue versus The House is Burning.
I think we will. I'm going the Melodic Blue by Baby Keem.
I'm going The House is Burning by Isaiah Rashad.
Okay, what's your reason? Because for me, I feel like both of these albums were really, you know, epic moments in time for both artists. With Baby Keem, this was his big debut, and he gave us this amazingly unpredictable track list filled with heaters like Vent, like Family Ties, even some softer cuts like 16, which I feel like is an amazing rap pop crossover. Like,
Do-Rag Activity, Vent, Trademark
he
USA.
showed his versatility in a big way, and I feel like his track presence was way more animated than Isaiah.
But
I love what Isaiah brought, but it put me to sleep, bro, at certain times.
See, that's a bad
very
take.
hazy, very slurred delivery.
But that's been Isaiah's delivery
not all
over
the way
time.
through.
Well, I mean, going back to Sylvia Demo, bro, that's a fantastic
No, bro, he's
project.
way more
and
slurred here than he's ever been
But,
before.
bro, it's incredible the way that this guy makes mood music. And to be honest with you, out of all the matchups on this bracket, I'm the easiest going with this one because I like these albums equally as much.
But you said The House is Burning.
The reason why is I'm going to tell you why. I feel like I had some of the biggest highlights of 2021 on this album with songs like Headshots or Rest in Peace Young.
Great songs.
Or Dark Side, bro. There's so many different songs on this album that I feel like play into this overall beautiful, cohesive message of Isaiah being in this burning house around him, but kind of being calm and being subtle about everything and finding the positivity behind it. So, listen, I could really go either way, but I want to go the house is burning.
All right, so Nick is going to come in and decide this all, baby. Let's
Well,
go.
listen, if you know me, you know I'm going the house is burning.
Yes, sir. Okay, fire.
Okay.
All right, let's go on to the next one. We have Limbo versus
I could
Vince.
swallow that one. It wasn't that tough.
I'm telling you, that one wasn't that bad. But let's go on to
yeah.
the next one. Limbo versus Vince Staples. These are two albums that still sound great in 2023, bro. I have Vince Staples in rotation. I have Limbo in rotation.
Yes.
If I have to say the one that I've had in rotation more frequently since it's dropped, it's probably Limbo, to be quite honest with you. But where are you going with this?
This is tough. I mean, I love Limbo because Amine just showed, like, this was his album to show to us that he can do that shit where he's going to be having that duality of a rapper singer, and he brought that on tracks like Can't Decide and also Easy with Summer Walker. Like, he really showed his versatility in a big way, and also, like, he's funny as fuck, bro. Like, you're going through these songs, like, for example, Burden, one of my favorite tracks off the album, he literally starts off saying, like, yeah, this is some kind of shit that you would play when you're picking up your friend that just got out of jail. Like, just some funny comedic moments that I loved, and all the tracks are fire. The features were fire, but Vince Staples is a more compact listen. I loved getting that background about Vince Staples' upbringing, and it felt like he was giving us one of his most personal bodies of work so deep into his career, and I think that Kenny Beats' production was unmatched too. I'm going Vince Staples.
Okay, I'm going to go Limbo just because I do think that Aminate offers a bit more in the track list when it comes down to Limbo, especially with songs like Roots, let's say, where he gets a bit more lyrical, or something like Shimmy, where he's getting a bit more braggadocious, and you have these crazy production switches going into Pressure in My Palms. Like, I also prefer the features on here because you have massive ones like, you know, someone like Vince Staples on Pressure in My Palms, Summer Walker, as you said, Charlie Wilson and JID. So, man, I don't know, bro. I think we have to get Nick in here again.
Another one.
What do you got, bro?
It's becoming a Nick bracket today.
Facts.
Listen, this is tough because I love the Vince Staples project.
What are you going with?
I'm going with Vince Staples.
There
Yes,
we go.
sir.
All right.
Let's go.
Vince Staples ends up advancing. But let's go on to the next one. Two lyrical
my
masterpieces when it comes down to Alfredo versus King's Disease 2. What do you have here, bro?
I mean, this is tough just because King's Disease 2 was that album that showed us that Nas is not aging at all, and it was a step up above King's Disease. It's probably the best Nas album we've gotten in the last 10 years, arguably, even though I have Magic a bit above it. The thing is with King's Disease 2 is that you do have those songs like Rare that are just not so great. Like, with Alfredo, it's a smooth listen from, I know that from beginning to end, I never have to press that skip button.
No, bro. It was so
With
hard
KD2,
because we recently brought this album into like what was it, the best and worst songs off these albums, right? And finding the worst song off of Alfredo was actually painful
challenge, bro.
because it's such a concise project, and I do think that the soundscape is more interesting than what Hit Boy provided on King's Disease 2. I feel like Uncle Al did a better job on the production. Yes, you could argue that Nas did bring more of an edge when it came to the lyrical rapping, but bro, Freddie Gibbs is a monster on this
I will
project.
say this, you could argue the highs are higher maybe on KD2 with songs like Nobody, with
But you
songs
still
like
have-
Store Run.
But bro, songs like God Is Perfect, songs like 1985, you get what I'm trying
That's
to
the
say?
thing. It's like from a writing and a perspective standpoint of like giving you that ghetto reporter talk once again, Nas gets the edge. But in terms of the technicals, bro, the flows, the cadences, Freddie wins. I think Freddie gets it overall.
Yes, okay. Alfredo was going to pass today. Fuck yeah, okay, there. I thought you were going to go KD2.
No.
I thought you were going to
No,
fuck
no,
with
no,
me
no.
today. Okay, next one. Two Pray albums. Pray for Paris versus Pray for
The
Haiti.
Griselda boys make their
Aw,
entrances. Let's
dude,
go.
this is going to be such a fun part of the bracket.
Listen, I love Pray for Haiti. I think that when you're looking at like rapper v rapper, yes, Mac Homie has better performances overall. I love how it was very, I would say, a love letter to Haiti in certain ways in terms of bringing in the culture.
Yes, it is.
You know, rapping with the Creole dialect as well. I loved how culturally embedded it was within his roots. But I think Pray for Paris just had those bigger standout moments, and it felt like one of the best luxury rap albums that I've ever listened to. Ever, bro. Like it's really on that level. Like even that intro starting off with like the fucking painting that's selling for millions of dollars and how Westside Gunn likens that to his art and his music. Like it was just a trip to the past for me in terms of
And you're getting incredible features on this album.
500 ounces.
Bro,
Fuck.
something like 327. Like,
Yes.
there's way too many standouts on Pray for Paris, and you could probably say that this is a top 5 Griselda drop of all time. Like, I wouldn't look at you crazy for saying that.
George
And
Bond, though?
Yes, there's a lot.
Come on now.
Yeah, Allah Sent Me, that's incredible too.
Come
There's
on
a
now.
lot of great tracks on this, so I think Pray for Paris is gonna have to go through.
Pray for Hades, amazing.
It is, absolutely. That's actually one of my favorite albums of 2021. But let's go on to another Griselda matchup.
Where we disagree.
Burden of Proof versus Bo Jackson. I'm going Burden of Proof.
Oh, what?
I'm going Burden of Proof.
I thought
yeah.
you were going to choose Bo Jackson
No,
on
Burden of
this one,
Proof.
bro,
I'm going
because
Burden of
you've been like giving that album so much love since it's dropped, and I love Bo Jackson. I think
Bro,
that
Burden of Proof is my album of the year next to Alfredo when it comes to
2020.
20. Yeah, it's an incredible album, bro. It really does feel like Benny the Butcher's blueprint moment, and all of that executive production done by Hit Boy served him so well throughout the whole project. And even at that, like, I got my favorite ever sort of like Griselda posse cut, if that makes sense, or like the trio coming together on something like Warpaint,
Yeah.
One Way Flight. I really can't go wrong with this track
you
list.
can't, bro. And I feel like, listen, Bully's a great lyricist, but in terms of just track presence, charisma, one-liners, quotables, Benny outdoes him, bro.
But I will say this,
I'll
though.
give him that.
Again, Uncle Al does get the edge over Hit Boy for certain production
Oof,
choices.
I don't know.
Like, example, like
Turpentine,
Turpentine, bro, Steel Wool.
double hockey
anything,
sticks,
bro. Brick Malta Montana. There's a lot
the
of
beat
different...
drops on those bitches, bro.
Bro,
Crazy.
it's an incredible album, but I'm still going Burden of Proof.
Modern day
Bro,
blueprint,
we're
bro.
going to have a Pray for Paris versus Burden of Proof battle next. But okay, let's go on to side B, okay? Her Loss versus Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon. Both massive trap albums for the 2020 decade. Both huge moments in time, both for their years. But I'm going Her Loss, bro, off the bat.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going Her Loss off the
I
bat.
love Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon. I think that Pop Smoke brought his A game to every single track, even when it came to doing something like Got It On Me. Like, what an amazing interpolation that was. Dating back to 50 Cent, like, he really showed us that he was more than just that drill artist that was making waves within the New York scene and the global drill scene. He showed us that he can make songs like Something Special or What You Know About Love that have that club appeal, that have that mainstream appeal. Like, I never expected, after hearing shit like Dior, to have Pop Smoke getting melodic and making it work out super well.
That was the cool thing, was it's him showcasing his
artistry.
his full talents in artistry, and you also get major production highlights on certain songs. Like, I really do feel like it's a strong album, but Her Loss is a better listen for me. I'm going Her Loss on this one.
I'm giving it to Nick, bro. I'm going Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon.
Wow, that's bro.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways,
I know Nick is going to choose Her Loss anyways, but might as well
Loss
make him
it
say
is.
it. There
Yeah,
we go.
Her Loss has to
Let's
pass
move
then.
on. Next up, Call Me If You Get Lost by Tyler, the Creator, versus Melt My Eyes, See Your Future by Denzel Curry. One of the best of 2021 versus one of the best of 2022. I hadn't even thought about this one, bro.
You
Sheesh.
for real? You didn't think about it?
I didn't know what to choose in the moment, so
I'm going Melt My Eyes for sure. I'm going Melt My Eyes, absolutely. I think
from a
so.
conceptual standpoint, yes. From a production standpoint, yes. From a rapping standpoint, yes. Okay, that checks all the boxes.
Yeah,
These
you
two
would go
for me.
easy for the production. Actually, I
Yeah.
would have considerations for Call Me If You Get Lost in the production
Yeah, I
standpoint.
think like him bringing in the neo soul and having people like Robert Glasper on the keys, bro. Come on.
No,
Like,
no,
you can't
absolutely.
fuck around,
No,
bro.
you
I mean,
can't
it's
fuck around
just
with
it's
the album.
amazing for just this jazz revivalism and making those old aesthetics sound new again. Denzel knew what he was doing, and there's not a walk-in or Melt Session #1 on Call Me If You Get
Wow,
Lost.
that's a hot take.
It's
But I
true,
agree with
though.
you. I agree with you. And by the way, both of these ended up making like my top 2 or top
Yeah,
1
same.
of the separate years. So let's go on to the next one. This one is a battle of the Dreamville members, The Off Season versus The Forever Story. And this one was tough, bro, because I love these albums dearly, but I ended up going with The Forever Story. I think conceptually it is a better album. I think when it comes down to production, I might go with The Off Season, but even at that, you're getting fantastic production showcases on stuff like, example, That's Now, or something like, System M. I really do have those Hollywood co-productions like close to my heart for this project. And I do think that if you were to bring in something like a For Your Eyes Only or something like a 2014, that's what would be compared to something like The Forever Story, but I think it's going to pass The
100
Forever
million,
Story.
I'm still on my grind.
Yeah, bro, what are you going
You know what
with?
I'm saying, bro? Like,
no.
there's a couple of those moments on the off season that are shaky, whereas the Forever Story, from beginning to end, like, he had the vision for it, and there were no slip-ups, bro. Even when he wanted to try out his singing, range on something like Galaxy or on something like Cody Blue 31, he nailed it all, bro. And like you said, conceptually, better put together album. You definitely could see how much thought and energy and effort Jid poured into that, bro. Like, he literally put his blood, sweat, and tears into this album. And yeah, it might be a hot take, it might not be, but the Forever Story moves on from the offseason. Next up, 2 lyrical miracle albums, No Pressure by Logic versus Miles by Blue and Exile. This is one of Logic's best ever albums to me. There's some days where I even put this over The Incredible True Story for how much I appreciate what he did on this project. It's still going to be Miles, though.
Yeah, I'm going to go Miles with it, yeah. And you know what? Initially, maybe in 2020, I would have gone with something like No Pressure off of this, and there's fantastic songs like a GP4 or even something like that, but to be honest with you, Miles is ahead of it, bro. And as you were mentioning before this recording, it's 20 songs, bro, but not a single fucking skip. So I agree with you. I think Miles is going to advance. But let's go on to LP versus By the Time I Get to Phoenix by Injury Reserve. And
both of them have super off-kilter beats.
That's true.
The most experimental rap albums that we have in the bracket today. And I think that both of them strive in different areas. When it comes to By the Time I Get to Phoenix, I think that it's the more sentimental album. I love the tribute that they gave to Groggs. I think that it was beautifully executed, and I do like the way that they tackled concepts such as grief and the modern day technology and all of sort of the issues that come with that. From a production standpoint, I have to give it to JPEG Mafia. I think that he created this sonic maze where you literally do not know where you're going, not only from song to song, but from like 0.5 of a song to the other half of the song.
And once this album clicks, it can't be unclicked, if that makes sense to you. It really just sets in like a sort of parasite, bro, where you just want to fiend the album more and more. And I was never really that big of a fan of JPEG's music until I got into LP and I started to understand all those types of crazy production techniques. So, listen, I'm going to go LP
also,
on this.
JPEG's voice, I feel like, was more like audible and pleasant to listen to than Richie's off of By the Time I Get to Phoenix. But both remarkable albums. I do think that I prefer LP, but honestly, neither of these albums are going to get the listen for me on the aux, bro. I'll be honest with you. It's not like my cup of tea, but I do see and respect the artistic value within both of them, but they're not really like my style per se. Next up, A Written Testimony by Jay Electronica versus Cheat Codes by Black Thought and Danger Mouse. One of the toughest matchups I think we have today, and I think I'm leaning more towards A Written Testimony by Jay Electronica.
This one was tough.
The
for me,
Unspoken Jay Elec and Jay-Z collab album. You had Jay Elec coming back and literally giving you a written testimony, kind of proving and showing you why he took X amount of years to give you his debut album, and really bringing a lot of topics that we don't see being tackled that often in the genre, like him being a member of the Nation of Islam and what that religion has offered him and provided to his life.
Okay, let me ask you this, though. Who do you think had a better rapping performance on both of those albums? Do you think it was Black Thought on Cheat Codes, or do you think it was going to be Jay Elec on A Written Testimony? That's the problem at hand.
Why are you asking me that?
That's a problem at hand, though. You know, and like, does the Jay-Z heavy influence on the album kind of play into effect here for you?
Does it actually be a detriment to the album because it was supposed to be Jay Elec's album and then he has Jay-Z kind of giving him the layup on a lot of these songs? Like, you can make that argument too.
I've heard those types of conversations.
Yeah.
The reason why I ended up going with Cheat Codes is because I really do like the chemistry between Danger Mouse and Black Thought, and I do feel like that middle point of Danger Mouse's production and Black Thought's, you know, you could call it the lyrical miracle rapping, is absolutely incredible throughout the whole project. I don't think you have an Aquamarine on A Written Testimony, in my opinion. Maybe the Ghost of Soulja Slim, but even at that, I really do feel like Cheat Codes is the superior album, and I'm going to answer my own question. I do think that Black Thought had a better rapping performance than Jay Elec.
I think the production is more or less on the same level. I love the lo-fi, experimental, psychedelic production of A Written Testimony. Love what Alchemist brought. And I also love what, pretty much every producer brought on A Written Testimony. But the question you asked me, who was the better rapper? Black Thought was, bro.
Yeah, I think so.
I think
but that's how
Thought...
crazy Black Thought's performance was throughout this whole project, is that when you get down to it, like, Bro, he absolutely murdered
Even
it.
the
Was
song
that-
concepts are maybe strong or something like because about like the senseless reasons why so many people die on a daily basis in the hood. Like there's so many great messages woven into it. So I think that's not an easy decision, but it's the right decision. Next up, I think we're gonna disagree here. RTJ4 versus Drill Music and Zion. We have the Run the Jewels boys versus Lupe Fiasco. And listen, I think that RTJ had thrilling, chaotic tracks from beginning to end, and not a second gets wasted or is boring on that project. And Drill Music and Zion has the better concept, you could argue. So
yes, it does.
There's strengths and weaknesses. And
okay, so this is what I'm going to make my argument for Drill Music and Zion. I do feel like, again, when it comes down to Killer Mike versus Lupe Fiasco does get him on the rapping performances.
Well, you're not even counting LP and the amazing back and forth that they have all throughout this project, bro.
But I do feel like Killer Mike did take more of a step forward on RTJ4 than someone like LP did.
I also feel like this music was so important because it came around the time of the George Floyd protests, and they actually bumped up the release date for it to come out around at that time. And what's amazing is that even through the brash and boisterous production, they make the music feel urgent the same way their lyrics are urgent.
Walk
and
in
I
the
feel
Snow
like
is one of the best songs that year,
bro,
too,
that
sure.
Killer Mike verse alone deserves RTJ4 to advance here. Like nothing is touching that. The effectiveness of that verse, bro, of him sounding like he's being choked out and really reenacting that moment, like that gave me chills. Also, I feel like the production, it made me feel like I was in a sci-fi movie, bro. Like it was really forward thinking. It was better than the production on Drill Music and
I will agree with
Zion.
that, yeah.
And I think that it's really one of those albums that moves you, and I think that they're also livelier as MCs in comparison to Lupe.
Yeah, but Lupe's meditative delivery and flow has to be like that because of the complex vocabulary that he brings to the album. So imagine Killer Mike using the vocabulary of someone like Lupe Fiasco on this album. It would sound like a fucking hot mess, you know? So that's what I'm seeing, is that it depends what you enjoy and depends what you like to revisit. So listen, I could go RTJ4 on this just because they are neck and neck for me. What do I prefer to listen to? Drill Music and Zion, but songs like Walk in the Snow and, you know, this being such a consistent track list of only 11 songs is really nice. I'll budge with you. I'll go RTJ4 on this. But let's go on to the last one for round one. And this is Ethiops by Billy Woods versus Smiling with No Teeth. So how do you feel about this, bro? Because Smiling with No Teeth was an album that we were debating bringing in today because it's not as well known, but it is a well-known concept album that executes beautifully on all fronts.
Genesis is Smiling with No Teeth was one of the biggest surprises for me, and I think that it truly is one of the best and just most bold albums that I've heard in the 2020s decade, just because of the fact that it's such a genre-bending album. Like, you have experimental R&B, you have synth pop, you have hip-hop, rock, all mixed into one. And I think that this album really revels in playing with your emotions, and that's why it's such a fascinating album, is that this album gives me chills simultaneously for how disturbing the lyrics are, but also how bright and lovely the instrumentation is. Like, it really gets you in your core, and it makes you feel unlike any other album maybe on this entire list. And I love the concept of someone always combating depression and the way that he weaved that into a character, which was the black dog on this album.
And what's interesting too is that, like, when he was, because I was just reading the Genius annotation before going through and the Apple Music stuff, like the description for the album, he said that the main inspiration for the concept of the album came from Food and Liquor from Lupe Fiasco and To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick, because he was heavily inspired by them. Plus, the whole concept of the black dog was actually inspired by him being called, you know, the black dog, as more of a racist sort of connotation in Australia, and more of him trying to build up this character throughout the album, which is quite interesting because there's this sort of thing of, you know, him still smiling through the pain and him having to fucking deal with that, which I find super well executed throughout it. The reason why
you choose Ethiops?
The reason why I was considering choosing Ethiops, and honestly, this is another toss-up for me, is just because I really fuck with the production and the mood of this album, bro. It's dark, it's scary, it's in your face, the features are fantastic, and I know you had a problem with the album because it was a bit sleepy for you, but to be quite honest with you, I feel like it keeps me on the edge of my seat throughout the whole movie. Throughout the whole album, I feel like
I'm like a movie.
It feels like a horror movie.
Listen,
you know?
I think that what's cool about Billy Woods is the fact that the way that he raps, bro. This guy is rapping in hieroglyphics, bro. Like, everything is fucking coded. You got to dissect it, and I appreciate that because I love having to go back to tracks to really dissect. But I think that his delivery is a bit monotone at times, and I also feel like the Ethiopian jazz samples were great, but they kind of all bleed into each other at one point. I feel like I wanted a bit more diversity in production.
But you do get that at the second half, though.
I will say this. Ethiops is more lyrically dense, but Smiling with No Teeth is the more complete album experience and has kind of the perfect balance of brilliantly explorative music and amazing execution of ideas. So that's why I go Smiling with No Teeth. But what are you saying? Ethiops, or are you going to side with me?
They're both fantastic.
If you want to choose Ethiops, you can make Nick come in, bro.
No, I'll go Smiling with No Teeth. Honestly,
Okay.
this is another toss-up for me where I'm kind of okay with whatever wins. But okay, let's actually flip this bracket on its back. Let's go back to another matchup now. Whole Lot of Red versus Heroes and Villains. So
Heroes and Villains.
Yeah, Heroes
bro.
and Villains.
I get it that like Heroes and Villains maybe wasn't as influential as Whole Lot of Red, but it's quality. Whereas,
but not only that, but I want to say it kind of is because it really did revive the trap scene, bro. Like,
it did.
The trap scene was on a dry run, bro, until Her Loss and Heroes and Villains came together. Plus, this whole concept of integrating the heroes and villains into the track list was really cool.
Sampling like Homelander was awesome.
Yeah, bro. And like, listen, if you have to ask me who would I rather have, produce my album, Filthy, Art Dealer, and Pierre Bourne, or Metro Boomin, I'm taking Metro Boomin production all day
Facts.
long. So I'm going Heroes and Villains on this matchup.
Absolutely.
But let's keep going on with this. Let's go on to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers versus The House is Burning. Listen,
Come on, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, bro.
But the thing is
Please.
that I feel like you can maybe argue for the replay value. The House is Burning a bit. I'm not gonna lie,
You
bro.
could, but I still would probably prefer to listen to stuff like Silent Hill or tracks like N95 or some of the ones off The House is Burning. But you have a point there. The replay value is sort of on a similar playing field, but Mr. Morale is undebatably the better album. Next up, though, we actually have Vince Staples versus Alfredo. I'm going Alfredo here, bro.
Yeah, this is Alfredo. Oh, this is where the brackets. Okay, listen, this round might be a bit easy, but I think once we're gonna start to see Alfredo come together with maybe Burden of Proof. I'm not sure what you're going off on this next one. That's when it's gonna start getting dodgy. Okay, but we're going Alfredo.
Alfredo.
Right?
Next up, we have Pray for Paris versus Burden of Proof. This is a tough one once again. I really do believe that Burden of Proof is the stronger record.
It is the stronger record because it's more complete, but I will say that the curation is on a higher level when it comes to Pray for Paris.
Even just how emotional each artist is getting. Take a song like Trade It All, bro, where Benny's saying I would trade all the excess material shit I have just to see my brother again. It really touches you and moves you a bit more on an emotional level than Pray for Paris, in my opinion. And again, those horns and those lively strings, it gave me a sound that really took me back to the early 2000s. So I think Burden of Proof wins. Side B, we have Her Loss going up against Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. Come on now.
Yeah,
we know it's advancing.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Denzel
okay, hold on.
advances.
Let me just put this in. Melt My Eyes, because the problem is, guys, is that while we're doing this bracket, I have to fucking type everything out. So I got to make sure that the bracket is getting.
Slaving away for us to keep everything in order right now.
Okay, keep going. Though. What do we got?
Okay, next up. So you put in Melt My Eyes over Her Loss.
That is correct.
Okay, we got The Forever Story going up against Miles. Listen, I love Miles. I love the fact that Blue always takes that approach of the underdog as a rapper, and he's one of the realest rappers. And again, it's an amazing amalgamation of jazz hip-hop. It sounds like a record that could be from the golden age of hip-hop, but conceptually, lyrically, I gotta go with The Forever Story.
I would give the edge to the production, though, on Miles.
Yes.
I would give the production on Miles.
Yeah.
But the thing is, too, is that you could also say that you're getting maybe the same amount or a bit more with 20 tracks, bro, and them all being fired consistently throughout. So I think the race is a bit closer. It
is.
But The Forever Story is definitely going to have to pass on this. Melt My Eyes versus The Forever Story. That's where...
Oh, baby.
Yeah, we already know
that's where Nick is going to have to come in. Next up, though, we have LP going up against Cheat Codes. This is an interesting one, bro.
Okay.
Wow. How do you compare these two albums?
No, you can't compare these two albums. I think that it depends what you're into. I mean, if you like unpredictable soundscapes, if you like to feel like you want to fucking bash your head against a brick wall, if you like to maybe mosh out to music, LP might be the record for you. If you've been living with that album, you'd probably go there. But on a lyrical standpoint and more of the writing of the album and, getting into the verses, Black Thought absolutely washes JPEG Mafia. But the production, I would give it to LP.
It's superior to an LP. Yeah, it is.
So, okay.
And also, what's the more original and unique sounding album? It is LP.
what are we doing here, bro?
Oh, my
I mean,
goodness.
What are is cheat codes?
I feel shameful to bounce cheat codes right now. Is that what we're doing?
But I mean,
Oh, I don't know.
pound for pound, you could argue that Cheat Codes is a better album.
Yeah, I know.
I'll let you do it. I'll
You're-
let
you're
you.
letting me choose
I'll
here?
let you choose.
Oh my goodness.
I enjoyed these albums equally as
Listen,
much, to be
I
honest.
think just because of how much LP has grown on me and how digestible it is as a JPEG Mafia album, I think I want to side LP.
All right, we'll go LP, bro. I have no problem doing that. Listen,
That's
this
tough.
this one was rough. Like this felt like having to give someone up for adoption. Like that was
Yeah.
kind of weird. But whatever. We'll go for LP. Let's go on to the last one. This is gonna be RTJ4 versus Smiling with No Teeth.
Oh my goodness.
Again, this is another round where I'm kind of complacent on whatever I choose. Like I'm a bit all worried, to be honest with you. But where do you want to go with this?
Listen, when it comes to a pure album experience, listening to RTJ4, it felt like catching a live grenade, bro. Like, it was fucking batshit crazy, and I think it's unlike anything else on this list in terms of just, again, the energy and also the symbolism and the metaphors. Looking at a song like Just with Pharrell and like how, look at all those slave masters on your dollar and how you can interpret that so many different ways. Even the 2 Chainz feature, bro, on that album goes hard as fuck.
The 2 Chainz
No,
feature's okay.
It's not okay.
It's okay.
It's not okay,
It's okay.
bro.
It's good. It's good,
No,
but
no,
it's
no,
nothing
no,
too
no.
crazy. But conceptually, though, Smiling with No Teeth is a better put together album, though.
It is.
And it does a bit more production wise too for me.
It's more diverse as an experience as well. I still go RTJ4. I go RTJ4.
I would go Smiling with No Teeth.
All right,
I'm gonna
Nick.
be honest. Yeah, Nick, come through here, bro.
Pull up, bro.
Yeah, this is not easy for sure.
What do you say?
RTJ4.
RTJ4, let's go.
Okay,
But
so we have RTJ4 versus LP on the next one. That's
a good matchup, though.
That
actually.
is a good matchup.
Let's go back to the top of this list, bro.
Okay, Heroes and Villains versus Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Yeah.
I think this was like probably people's like 1 and 2 last year. A lot of people really
Facts.
did have this as their 1 and 2. Some of their favorite projects of 2022. Some of my favorite projects of 2022.
And listen, like, to me, you have songs like Lock on Me, which was probably the only song that's a skip off of Heroes and Villains when it comes to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Not that there's necessarily skips. Well, I mean, if you're asking me, maybe there is 1 or 2. But again, I think that besides production, Mr. Morale wins in every other field.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a better put together concept album. Well, I mean, that's not really the point of Heroes and Villains, but if you want better writing, you go to Heroes and Villains. If you want better rapping performances, you go there.
Heroes and Villains?
No. If you go, you go to Mr.
Okay,
Morale.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
you go to Mr. Morale.
Yeah.
N95, Worldwide Steppers, United in Grief, Father Time, bro. Mr. Morale, Count Me Out, Savior. Like, take your pick, bro. That track list is fucking loaded. So,
And
Mr.
you could
Morale-
also argue that, like, both artists, you saw more growth, I would maybe say, out of Kendrick in comparison to Metro.
yeah, but it's so hard when you're looking at a producer versus
Well, yeah,
rapper standpoint.
you can compare, like, how they step up their production styles and whatnot, which Metro
That's true.
definitely did a great job. But, okay, Mr. Morale moves on. Fair enough. No complaints there. Next up, we have...
Burden of Proof versus Alfredo. Okay, listen, I love Burden of Proof. I really fuck with Burden of Proof, but this is where it's going to have to be put down, bro. I'm sorry. Like, we're going to have to go with Alfredo here. Please.
Listen, Burden of Proof was my album of the year for 2020, so that's where I stand. But I know there's going to be no budging with you, and I know Nick is going to vote for Alfredo, so let's make Alfredo ride.
Fire. Okay, thank
make
God.
it right.
Because I was going to be like,
Well, it didn't
come
matter,
on.
bro. Like, I actually had no voice in this fucking one, bro.
Jeez, it is a better album.
I was like a silent cat, bro. My fucking opinion meant shit.
All right, Melt My Eyes, See Your Future versus The Forever Story. My one and your one of 2022. Listen.
Let's just give it to Nick, bro. Like, we had it. Like, I'm not going to swap now, bro, after all this time. Like, no.
Well, maybe someone could convince each other. Let's hear some discussion.
Bro, listen, when it comes to The Forever Story, I told you this, and I'll say it again. I think that Jid offers way more range than Denzel had all throughout that album. Not only that, but I also feel like when it comes to a lyrical performance, I think that Jid wins on the double entendres. I think that Jid wins when it comes to flows, and even when it comes to storytelling, you don't have a story as vivid as Crack Sandwich on Melt My Eyes, See Your Future.
Yeah, but you don't have the highs that you do on something like, let's say, a Walk-In or a Melt Session #1.
Of course.
No, those are some of the best tracks all year. Even something like John Wayne, The Last. Like, you really do have those songs within Melt My Eyes, See Your Future that I do feel are superior
You
to
don't
the
have a
track.
system, bro? Like,
You
come
do.
on, of course, bro.
You do, but I did have Melt Session #1 and Walk-In both over those. You have Song of the Year on this album. Even at that, like, yes, you could say that the Forever Story is a bit more consistent, but still, bro, you're getting fantastic tracks towards the end of Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. Listen, I'm still going to go Melt My Eyes, bro.
I'm
There's
going
no-
the Forever Story.
Nick, I'm through, bro.
Yeah, you guys are putting this all on me. That's not fair. But it's the Forever Story for me. I have
All
to
right,
say
the
it.
Forever Story ends up going through on this round. This is actually slating to be a nice bracket, bro.
Yep.
Let's go on to the last round of round 3, bro. And this is going to be LP versus Run the Jewels 4. All right, bro. So listen, I'm going to
Yeah.
go LP. I know how you really do feel about Run the Jewels 4. I know it's one of your favorite albums of 2020 and of this whole decade. Are you willing to make the compromise for today and have LP go through?
Man,
Are
I
you
mean,
willing? I feel like I'm your lawyer. Are you willing to do this?
the rapping is way more superior. I think the messages are way more powerful on RTJ4. I think that in terms of just what's the smoother listen, probably RTJ4. Like, again, it comes down to a case where all I can give LP is the production. So I have to stick by my guns and go with RTJ4. I have to.
Are we gonna get Nick back in? Listen, bro, I just feel
Nick
bad
Nick
for...
is the king.
Yeah, but-
It's the Nick bracket,
Yeah, no,
bro.
it's the Nick
It really
bracket
is.
for today. Listen,
I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, I'm not gonna do it for the sake of doing it.
so why do I gotta do it for the sake of doing it?
No one told you to do it, bro.
Yeah, but poor Nick, bro. We gotta. This
Looks
is
like I got to do it for
Yeah.
the sake
all
of
right.
doing
Go
it.
for it, bro.
Well, listen, I'm sorry, but I'm not the biggest fan of LP, so it has to go to RTJ4.
Yes, sir.
All right, RTJ4 ends up going
Is that the
through.
semifinals?
That is the semifinals,
Nice.
bro.
So
All
we
right,
got
so
4 albums left right now.
we do have 4 albums left.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's do Mr. Morale versus Alfredo. I think that this is a really hard race, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is harder than I think it is.
Well, what about Alfredo? How did that one bounce?
What do you mean? How did it bounce?
Like, what did it lose to again?
Alfredo didn't lose.
Oh, it's still in here. So we're at the semifinals of side A then.
Yes, we are. Yeah. We're on
Okay.
Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers versus
Okay,
Alfredo.
Perfect.
Fuck, dude.
That's so tough.
That is rough.
I'm going Alfredo, bro. I'm going Alfredo when it comes to listen to the flows and God is perfect. Kendrick isn't flowing like that on Mr.
Yes,
Morale
he
and the
is.
Big
Yeah,
Steppers.
yeah. On Worldwide Steppers, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. On N95, he is. Yes, he is.
Production's better in Alfredo, bro. All of those lush instrumentals. Look at something to rap about. Like, it feels like you're literally on a fucking boat.
I love Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, but I'm going Alfredo
Yes,
here
sir.
too. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank God.
Listen, Alfredo is easily one of the best albums of the 2020 decade, and I think that Alfredo is a bit more concise of a track list, if I have to be honest.
So you're
with you.
hanging the Kendrick bias on the shelf for today.
I have to.
Okay.
I'm just such a big fan of this album, bro, and honestly, it's a fucking masterpiece, bro. From start to finish, you won't find any blemishes with it, so I'm gonna go
So
Alfredo.
Alfredo is a finalist for this bracket, bro.
That's fire. Okay, at least we had something unpredictable for
That's
this bracket.
fair.
That's fire.
Okay, and now we're gonna be left with the Forever Story going against RTJ4.
Okay, bro, the jig is up. The jig is up, bro. Come on. Are you for real?
jig is up.
Are you for real?
The Forever Story is gonna
Thank
take this
God.
one.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
Yes.
And listen, it's no slight towards RTJ4. I really do enjoy the album, but the Forever Story is definitely one of the best albums of the 2020 decade. So we have our final.
Oh my
We
God.
have 2020 versus 2022, both album of the year contenders, both fantastic track lists. What are we going with here?
I mean, listen, one of them is a more concise album. On the other hand, Jid's The Forever Story offers a lot more in certain aspects.
It does offer a lot more, but the production on Alfredo offers a
better.
lot more. I do prefer shorter track lists. That's just me.
Conceptually, you got to go The Forever Story.
Yes,
In
but
terms of versatility as an artist, you got to go The Forever Story.
Yes, but maybe, but even on flows and like locking into melodies, like that's the thing though. Is Freddie Gibbs is on par with JID when it comes to that sort of stuff. So
Bro, that fucking electric guitar sample off of 1985, like,
yeah,
woo,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
woo. I don't know, man. This is a fucking
Okay,
nail
I'll
biter.
say this. I think I do revisit Alfredo more, but what is the better album? I am going with the Forever Story.
Think so?
I'm going with the Forever Story. What are you going?
I think the Forever Story is the best rap album of the 2020s. It's going to win the bracket, but interesting fact for you guys. We both believe that Sometimes It Might Be Introvert by Little Sims is actually the #1 album of the 2020s decade
it's like
so far.
uncomparable that that album would have ripped through this whole like track.
Yeah, it's like fucking watching a movie and knowing the ending, bro. Like you don't want to do that for a bracket. So we thought it would be, more entertaining for us and for you guys if we went kind of blind into this. But yeah, the Forever Story wins the bracket today.
What was the biggest snub for today? What
the biggest snub? Some honorable mentions I had: As God Intended by Shay Noir, All the Brilliant Things by Sky Zoo, Super What by MF Doom and Sarface. What about you? Man on the Moon 3 by Kid Cudi was
Man
one?
on the Moon 3 by Kid Cudi was definitely in contention for me today. And to be honest, bro, that's probably what I would go with, bro. Like every single album that we ended up choosing for this bracket was really
It's been a
well
fire decade so far. I'm
It
not
has
gonna
been
lie.
a fire decade. People have been complaining, but bro, I think people have been sleeping too. So guys, let me know in the comment section. Let us know, where did Lou and I fuck up? Where did we get it right? Where did we get it wrong, bro? And listen, I think that this was super fun today. Let me know some recommendations for other brackets in the comment sections. Lou, any last words?
Guys, thank you as always. Let us know what bracket you want to see next. Much love, and we'll catch you in the next episode.